And now, if you don't mind, we're going to get to the news. President Trump was evacuated on Saturday night from the White House Correspondents Association dinner after an armed man tried to storm the event. And you know he was furious because it was just before entrees. At a press conference after Saturday's incident, President Trump told reporters, quote, "I can't be so concerned that I can't function." Apparently, he gets really concerned in meetings. At the same press conference, President Trump doubled down on the need for his new $400 million ballroom. What? What's the connection between those two things? That's like getting into a car accident and saying, "I knew I shouldn't have eaten sushi." That's right, President Trump doubled down on the need for his new $400 million ballroom and said, quote, "This event would never have happened with the military top secret ballroom." Okay, this whole ballroom idea is a lot of things, but top secret ain't one of them. It's been dominating your word cloud for a year now. In a new interview with 60 Minutes, CBS reporter Norah O'Donnell asked President Trump how long his truce with the press will last after Saturday's White House Correspondents Association dinner shooting, and then immediately got her answer.
You shouldn't be reading that on 60 Minutes. You're a disgrace.
So, less than 60 minutes. During the same interview, President Trump said that he had been planning to make a rip-roaring speech and added, quote, "I was going to hit people really hard with humor." Oh, now? You like comedy at the Correspondents' Dinner? Because back then, you looked like you were hoping to be evacuated. During an Oval Office event last week, President Trump promoted the Trump RX, a platform where consumers can purchase prescription drugs at a reduced cost, and added, quote, "Now I have my name on medication." Buddy, you're 79. You've had your name on medication for quite a while now. The burger chain Steak and Shake announced last week that they've hired a chief Make America Healthy Again officer. So now, when you order steak, make sure to specify the animal. The world's largest maker of condoms said last week that it is raising prices by up to 30% due to the Iran war's impact on raw materials. But honestly, you won't really feel it. And finally, a passenger on a Delta Airlines flight last week from Atlanta to Portland went into labor and delivered her baby about 30 minutes before landing. The crew congratulated her and then charged her for having an extra carry-on. First Lady Melania Trump announced last week that she will add a beehive to the White House honey program, and oh no, he found it. President Trump yesterday welcomed Britain's King Charles as he kicked off his state visit in honor of America's 250th anniversary, as well as the 280th anniversary of their hands. Sorry, I just know when I start the next joke, the picture changes. Sunday was First Lady Melania Trump's 56th birthday, and President Trump did not acknowledge the day on any of his personal social media accounts. Look, it was a crazy weekend. I'd be willing to give him the benefit of the doubt that he was too busy if he hadn't found time to congratulate Lee Greenwood on the birth of his grandchild. That's right, President Trump congratulated God Bless the USA singer Lee Greenwood in a post over the weekend on Truth Social on the birth of his first grandchild 10 days ago. And apparently the baby is already sick of that song. The pizza chain Little Caesars has partnered with the company Flytrex to offer drone delivery. And in a related story, Iran just surrendered. They would have been fine. They would have pizza if it was just pizza. But the fact that it was pizza. A Missouri man was recently charged with sexual misconduct after he allegedly danced naked in the vestibule of an Aldi store. Or more likely, he was just stripping to raise money for groceries. The airline Emirates is reportedly developing first-class suites with private bathrooms. So if you've ever wanted a seat that reclines all the way, movies on demand in your own bathroom, have you ever considered just staying home? That's right, the airline Emirates is reportedly developing first-class suites with private bathrooms, while Spirit has introduced an empty Gatorade bottle. Yesterday was Marine Mammal Rescue Day, but it's like I always say, who rescued who? You know what the hardest part about being a late-night talk show host is? Just knowing gonna do you dirty in the picture. The music streaming platform Spotify announced last week that its most streamed album of all time, with more than 20 billion streams, is Bad Bunny's Un Verano Sin Ti. And if you're wondering what that translates to, about 38 cents. Everything got slowed down because you all wanted to tell me how much you like Bad Bunny. And finally, Wendy's. Okay. Because internally they're like, you know, we're the Bad Bunny of fast food places. Finally, Wendy's began offering its spring menu yesterday, including a watermelon sparkling energy, which gives a bubbly energy boost. And then, to bring it back down, the Big Bacon Classic Triple. President Trump reposted a Daily Mail article in Truth Social yesterday that claims he is a cousin of Britain's King Charles and said, quote, "I've always wanted to live in Buckingham Palace." Oh, yeah, buddy, we can tell. You're making Buckingham Palace look like a tasteful split-level ranch house. President Trump hosted a state dinner last night at the White House for Britain's King Charles, and the dress code for the event was whitey. Sorry, that says white tie. White tie. Snuck a red fox joke in. During last night's state dinner at the White House, King Charles gifted President Trump a gold bell from an old submarine called the HMS Trump. And what better gift for a guy who's way underwater? Whole joke. Former FBI Director James Comey was indicted yesterday for posting a photograph on social media of seashells that spelled out the numbers 8647, which prosecutors claim was a threat against President Trump. Oh, come on, that's not a threat. That's something your mom has framed for the guest bathroom. The only way that's a threat to President Trump is if he has a shellfish allergy. 86 just means to remove something. I worked at a lot of restaurants, and when the manager said 86 the salmon, nobody thought he meant assassinate the salmon. The salmon's seen too much. President Trump said yesterday that Iran has asked the U.S. to lift a naval blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Unfortunately, if there's one thing Trump can't do, it's open up water. New York City's first full-fledged casino opened yesterday in Queens and features more than 240 table games. Great news if you're from Queens and you love hitting on 16. It's about... Believe it or not, that's what I thought the ceiling of your reaction would be. A sheep in Vermont recently gave birth to a batch of 6 lambs. Well, there might have been more, but the doctor fell asleep. Yeah, no, why? That's how bad this week has been. My writers are doing sheep counting jokes. And also that my writers think a doctor comes to deliver sheep. They're like, they hear a ooh. Call the OBGYN. SOBGYN. Sheep. Where are we? Cancel. You guys were like, you booed that joke 2 back, and then we're like, oh, well, it gets worse. The makers of Coors Light announced today they will launch their first ever zero alcohol beer. So if you want the taste of Coors Light without getting drunk, you may already be drunk. A Florida woman was arrested recently after she allegedly snorted A Florida woman was arrested recently after she allegedly snorted cocaine in an Uber, complained that the air conditioning was too hot, and later attacked the driver, which in Florida still gets you 4 stars. I do know people who call it cocaine. But I appreciated that our audience might not, so I go... Coming to the party later? Are you gonna have cocaine? And finally, today was singer Willie Nelson's 93rd birthday. If you forgot, don't worry, so did he. Yeah, my birthday, oh, well. During an Oval Office event yesterday, President Trump said that in order to become an astronaut, quote, you have to do a lot of things physically good. And added that he would have, quote, no trouble making it. Oh, yeah, you're the picture of health. I'm surprised you don't need an oxygen tank on Earth. President Trump spoke on the phone yesterday with Russian President Vladimir Putin for roughly 90 minutes until finally Putin said, okay, I think I've heard enough about ballroom. Britain's King Charles and Queen Camilla yesterday visited Rockefeller Center, so no, Wally, I don't believe you brought that from home. There's an extra fun part of the monologue, not for you guys at home, but for people in the audience now have realized that Wally's wearing a crown and won't be able to take it off for a while. President Trump reposted an image yesterday on Truth Social of the Strait of Hormuz, renamed as the, quote, Strait of Trump. Seems like a perfect name for it, considering it's completely shut down. In a post yesterday on Truth Social, President Trump defended the Justice Department filing charges against former FBI Director James Comey for posting a picture of 8647 written in seashells and said that, quote, 86 is a mob term for kill him. Plus, everyone knows the most dangerous mobsters communicate exclusively by seashell. I gotta get a message to our friends in Philly. Help me rinse these off. President Trump's Doral Miami Golf Club recently put up a 15-foot-tall gold statue of Trump. Well, at least we can rest easy knowing that eventually Tiger Woods will crash a car into it. Donald Trump Jr. and his fiancée, Bettina Anderson, are reportedly waiting for the Iran war to end before getting married because they're worried about the optics of a glamorous event during wartime. Oh, don't worry, it won't be glamorous. He's already asked the band if they know the theme from Entourage. That's right, Donald Trump Jr. and his fiancée are waiting for the Iran war to end before getting married because they're worried about the optics of a wedding during wartime. Sounds like somebody's trying to get out of it. Yeah, babe, we'll get married as soon as there's world peace. A New Jersey pizzeria was robbed last month 3 times in 4 days because in Jersey, those have more money than the banks. Don't dismissively shake your head wearing that crown. Oh, New Jersey Wally didn't care for that one. Put a crown on, all of a sudden he thinks he has the right to judge the jokes. I also know it didn't go well. I don't need to see you going.
Different with the crown on.
Yeah, no, we all feel different. And finally, according to a new survey, 30% of respondents said that they have removed a friend or family member from a group chat in the last year. And for those who aren't in a family group chat, it was you. And that was a monologue, everybody!